everybody, thank you so much for clicking on this video. Today we're going to talk all about the 10 most underrated exercises in my opinion. If you're clicking on this video for the first time, I'm a certified functional strength coach based out of New York City. I work with both private clients one-on-one and I teach virtual group fitness. So I like to think I'm very tuned in to what people need. Now, obviously every coach has kind of a different clientele, a different reach, and a different approach. Most of my clients come to me with the goal of looking and feeling better. It's mostly women, it's mostly people in their late 20s to early 40s who kind of realize that they need to implement a movement routine as they age to feel better. So I'm going to share with you 10 exercises that I utilize across the board in my group fitness classes and with a lot of my clients that I actually don't see really well represented across social media. So hopefully we are starting some trends today. These are in no particular order except the order that they came out of my brain. So let's jump into number one. Just kidding. First, we have to thank the sponsor of today's video, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community built to help you learn and grow. Whether you want to start a digital business or improve your painting skills, Skillshare has something for everyone. Now, as we come into Q3, I've been reflecting on streamlining my business as much as possible. So the course I've taken this month is Project Management in Real Life with Nikki Henderson, who is a marketing copywriter at Asana. Now, I'm the only employee at my business, so I'm not only in charge of working with clients and teaching classes, but I have to advertise, edit, create, and develop everything that gets me to the point of actually coaching. Now, I've already used Asana for years to organize all of my social media content and class planning, but this course has been really helpful in fine-tuning a service that I already use. Now, if you are interested in joining Skillshare, I have a deal for you. The first 1,000 people to use my link down in the description box below will get a free month trial to Skillshare. So if you end up snagging one of those memberships, definitely let me know down in the comments below. And thank you one more time to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now, let's talk about some exercises. First exercise is a split squat. I feel like I talk about split squats all of the time, and I'm not talking Bulgarians where your foot is propped up on something behind you. I am talking about from the floor split squats. Split squats are one of my favorite exercises to build your single leg strength. Obviously, there's a lot of different single leg exercises, but I think that this is probably one of the most functional and one of the best to help you understand how to move your hips in space. As you're going through a split squat, I like to coach it so that we're taking a slight hinge in the hips to get more of that posterior chain engaged. But depending on your goals, you could also drive the knee more forward over the toe and get a little bit more quad dominance. That's another reason why I love the exercise, just simply based off of the angle of your hips. And if you're moving more up and down elevator or on a diagonal escalator, you can target more of the anterior or posterior chain. And then one other reason why I love these is because there's a lot of different options to hold your weight. On the shoulders, goblet position, offset, suitcase down by the side. Personally, I love this because again, I teach in a virtual group fitness setting. A lot of times people don't have unlimited access to weights at home. So I get to guide them on where they should hold their weight based off of how challenging we want the exercise to be and what they have access to. Next up is a goblet clean. This is one of my favorite power drills to implement with people. With most of my private clients, we're going to do a little bit of power right at the beginning just to get like our neuromuscular system fired, ready to go. And it's important to train power because as we age, we actually do lose our power at almost double the rate that we lose our strength. I have a whole video all about the benefits of power training and why we should actually train power. So if you want to dive a little bit more into that, you can check out that video. And one of the reasons that I'm going to go with a goblet clean for a lot of my clients is because it's a really manageable power exercise. When we think about a lot of power drills, and I've talked about them a lot recently, we think of kettlebell skills, kettlebell cleans, snatches, swings, and a lot of those skills are skills and they take time to learn. So I find that for people who maybe aren't ready for them or honestly just like don't have an interest in learning kettlebell skills, this is a great second option because we're still able to get that really powerful hip drive. We're still able to work on the stacking of the spine. We're still able to build our power, but the learning curve is a lot less steep. Next up, an elevated bridge, and I'm talking body weight. If you cannot ever feel your hamstrings, do this. Your hamstrings will be on freaking fire with this exercise. I also love these as like a progression for somebody who's been working on weighted glute bridges from the floor, just to get a different variation. You know, the glute bridges are going to target more of the glutes. This is going to incorporate a little bit more of the hamstring. And specifically, I would use these for somebody who isn't quite cleared to deadlift yet, just because their hinge mechanics aren't 100%. Another reason why I love this is because if you really pull those toes up, you can get some great anterior anterior tibialis connection. And by keeping the toes and the knees directly pointed upwards, maybe squeezing on a block or a ball in between the legs, you can get a lot of really great inner thigh connection. Next up, we have a bottoms up press. I talked about these on Instagram in the last month, but I want to bring them back in here. This is one of my favorite drills for shoulder and wrist stability. If someone is doing some really heavy overhead or chest pressing in their program and we have access to like a lighter kettlebell, we're gonna put these in at the top. They're very versatile. I've also used them in squats just to help clients keep their chest a little bit more upright. Now, I do get asked a lot, can I also do this with a dumbbell? And unfortunately, no, just because on a dumbbell, like the weight is evenly distributed. And that's kind of the whole point of this exercise. Your stabilizing muscles have to work really hard to keep that bell from tipping over. But luckily, there's not one exercise to target everything. So if you are looking for exercises that work more of your wrist or shoulder stability, let me know down in the comments. Maybe I'll make a whole video about it. Next up, we're going with an offset racked hold. So offset means on one side of your body, and racked is the weight on the shoulder. And this is just a hold. We have seen a lot of these like functional core exercises where people have like one weight overhead, one down by their side, and then they're marching or, you know, walking throughout their space. And those are great exercises. Those are going to be way too difficult for a lot of people. You see people in the comments of those videos all the time, and they'll be like, should I feel my core? Because I don't. This is a topic for a whole nother video, but I think that you should be able to feel core connection in every exercise. That's why I argue that every exercise can technically be a core exercise, but that's a whole nother topic. I find that this is a much better place to start. So again, ideally we're doing this with a kettlebell because of that weight distribution kind of pulling you down, but you could work on this with a dumbbell. Like I wouldn't say it's a waste of your time, but essentially what we're doing is teaching that proper stacked positioning. So keeping the shoulders, the rib cage, the hips, pelvis, everything stacked together and finding that core tension. And if you do 30 seconds of this and you do not feel your core at all, you either aren't doing it right or your weight isn't heavy enough. Next up is a single leg stand. I literally never see people doing these. If you can understand how to get your glute fired, literally just by standing on the floor, game over. Like it is a game changer to understand how to use ground tension and your own body to feel your glutes. Using a band is completely optional. You don't need to go super heavy. It's really not about the abducted or lifted leg. It's about understanding ground tension on the floor. But if you are going to use a band, just a light one. It's more just for like neuromuscular connection. And I think that drills like this are just so important because understanding how to grip the floor, how to align your body in space, it's not really sexy, but it's really, really important for the foundations before you jump to more of the fun stuff. Rotational slams. Okay, aside from these just being like super fun, again, we're talking about power, right? Now this power exercise differs from the goblet clean that I talked about earlier because we are rotating. Rotating in workouts is really underrated. I have a whole video coming out about it next month, I think. But aside from all of the benefits of using rotational exercises in our workouts, again, we're getting some light power work at the beginning of our workout. We're getting our core engaged, getting our nervous system firing, working on our mind-muscle connection, our coordination. There's like endless benefits. And aside from all of that, these are just really fun. Coming up next is no one's favorite plank, a side plank. This is one of my favorite drills for the obliques. Obliques can either create rotation or movement or resist it. And this is one that's specifically teaching your obliques to resist movement. It's also really strong for your shoulder stability. You're gonna get some great lat and serratus connection here. Depending on the variation, like maybe a little bit of glute med. So while it's a simple exercise, it's not only very versatile, but it is incredibly effective. Next up is a box squat. Again, I never see people doing these. I think that a box squat kind of gets a bad rap as like, this is for beginners, this is for people who don't have good ankle mobility, who don't have good stability, who need a break between reps. And you can absolutely use it for people in that situation, and there's no shame on people in that situation. The only thing to do is practice and get stronger and progress as needed. But if you are doing a box squat correctly, it is not easy. So the way that I like to do it, I like to keep that abdominal tension the entire time by never actually sitting back and fully resting on the bench. I'm using it more as a tap for depth. I swear this is an exercise that never actually gets easier. You just get better at it. All right, we have reached number 10. machine. It's a Paloff press, baby. I love this exercise because I think it's really good at teaching people that deep core tension and connection. It's basically an isometric, right? You're resisting movement specifically in rotation, and you can do it at a cable machine. You can do it with a heavier band. There's a lot of different options depending on the equipment that you have access to. You know, I find that people, especially on social media, get so bogged down with this core training that it's about creating movement and rotating and all of these crazy things. And sometimes simple is just better. Just because something looks easy, seems simple, or maybe kind of boring does not mean that it doesn't belong in your training. If anything, it probably means that it does. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If there's a specific exercise in here that you want broken down or a concept kind of pulled apart, please let me know. I'm always looking for different video ideas. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out, and I will see you all in the next one.